Hello, 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 and welcome to today's podcast of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. If you are new to this podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Let's jump right in. Thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. The Her Version platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that so many times our greatest learning experiences are from listening to other people's stories. Today, I am speaking with an amazing woman named Ana Lankford. Ana is highly trained in the treatment of trauma, CBT, EMDR, and motivational interviewing. She is the program director at Teen Recovery Solutions in Oklahoma and is here to shed some light on the subject of recovery. Ana has some amazing insight on the subject and is here to share some of her experiences with teen recovery as a professional and also as a mother. Welcome, Ana.
Thank you, Sabrina. I'm super happy to be here.
Yes, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I know that you are just probably always just so much going on. I can't even imagine what your days are probably like. So I so appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your day to sit down with me. And
you're very welcome. Happy to be here.
And talk about this. Hey, love, can you give me my headphones? Because it seems like there's a little echo. I don't know where. Anyways, can you talk to us a little bit about who you are, what you do in the industry before we kind of jump into all this goodness?
Sure. So we're a very unique program here in Oklahoma. In fact, we're the only program like it in the state, and we are a private high school for adolescents in recovery from addiction. So all of our students are working to be in recovery or have some pretty good recovery already. Our program helps them get caught up from, not going to school, falling behind, problems at home, going to treatment, that kind of thing. So we do a lot of credit recovery with them. We're a very small school, so we only have 15 students, and we have 3 full-time teachers, or 2 full-time teachers and 1 part-time teacher. So the student-teacher ratio is very, very small. So the kids get a lot of one-on-one attention. Yep. And in conjunction with the school, we also have our specific recovery program, and that's the program that I'm the director of, and we call it our APG, or Alternative Peer Group. And the purpose of our APG is to provide students with a built-in friend group, because when a young person gets sober, they say, and it's true, you have to change the playground and change the playmates. And for an adolescent, that's very, very difficult because that is their world. And so, you're asking a lot of a teenager to tell them, not only are you not able to do this, you've also lost your friends because your friends are using. So what we do is we provide them with a friend group, with a group of teens who aren't going through the same thing that they're going through, experiencing the same things that they're experiencing. Wow. And that meets 4 nights a week. And that program is led primarily by peer recovery coaches who are close in the teens age. My 2 coaches are in their 20s. And we do a lot of recovery focused work, obviously, but we also have a lot of fun, which is a big part of our purpose, is to show the teens that they can, in recovery and in sobriety, they can still have a lot of fun. They haven't had to give that aspect up of their life. So we do lots of fun stuff with them. We take them places. I'm a big outdoors person, so we do a lot of outdoorsy things, hiking, camping, that kind of thing. And then we are a 12-month program, so wrapped up in that, we also go on retreats 3 times a year.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 times a year. We take them for about, depends on where we go, between 4 and 5 days. Planning spring retreat right now, and that's going to be at in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So we'll be doing a lot of fun stuff there.
Wow, that's so awesome. So whoever wants to go can go, and you guys just all go together and experience awesome things together.
We do.
No
So
kidding.
it's really cool. I mean, I feel really lucky. I have a really fun job. It's a hard job, but it's a fun job.
Yes. And then you were telling me before we kind of got online here, the age group. What's the age group?
So it can vary. The youngest that we usually will do is 13, and the oldest would be around 19. Our standard student would be high school age, 14 to 18, around in that range. So we are a pure high school, so it's freshmen through seniors. And all of our students, they do get diplomas, actual degrees and diplomas. Many of our students have gone on to college and beyond.
That's awesome. How long have you been in the recovery industry?
I've been in the recovery industry since, gotta think, 2008, I think, roughly.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was, a weird way that I got there was I was watching a Dr. Phil show, and there was a teenage girl that was out of control, and they were sending her to this treatment center, and they were describing the treatment center, and I was like, man, that sounds cool. I'd love to work there. And it was in Oklahoma, in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and I emailed the treatment center, and I was working there the next week. So,
no way.
Yeah. Thanks to Dr. Phil, this is how I got where I got. So
wow. A little side note, my story, my boyfriend will, my fiance will attest to this. I am obsessed with Dr. Phil. I watch Dr. Phil all the time. I watch him on YouTube. I don't watch him on the TV. So you can just watch like endless amounts of Dr. Phil. But I do my makeup. I do my makeup to Dr. Phil. I wake up to Dr. Phil. I take a shower with Dr. Phil. I love Dr. Phil. That is so cool. That is so awesome. What a way to grab your dreams.
Absolutely. And I was at that point in time in my life, I was kind of at a little bit of a crossroads, trying to figure out what my next steps were. And so I took the job out there, which was an adolescent treatment center for girls, and just fell in love with that work. And that made me have the drive to go to graduate school and get my master's degree and become a clinical therapist.
No kidding. Just out of nowhere.
Folding laundry one day, and there it was.
Yes. Yes. This is what I'm talking about. I absolutely love that. So you've been in this industry for a while. I know that you have some firsthand experience with addiction in your home. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yes. My older son, when he was a teenager, he had a hard time, just in general. He was different. He had some learning issues. Honestly, he was just kind of an odd kid. He just wasn't like the other kids. And so he had a really hard time fitting in. He had a condition called dysgraphia that made it to where he couldn't write very well. And so when he would write, it was very childlike handwriting. And so he was bullied a lot. And when he got into high school, it just got a lot worse. And the kids that would accept him were, the kids who were the kind of kids they'll accept anybody. And, those kids were the same. They were just like him. They were hurting. They were fringe. They were not accepted. And so they gravitated toward each other. His behavior began changing, started getting calls from the school that he had skipped or dipped out, just little red flags were happening. And then he got caught at school with substances and was taken to the jail. And so I had to go get him out of jail. That was the first time. We had a lot of run-ins with the legal system with him. A lot happened. And I realized that if I didn't do something, my son was going to die. And so, I made a lot of mistakes. I did. I was very angry for a very long time, and it didn't help a lot.
When did you kind of and I know we're going to get into this a little bit later in the interview, but like the instance between like when he kind of started, I guess, rebelling or however you want to put that, and then he actually got, I guess, in trouble and you knew definitively, how much time was that?
It's about a year.
Wow, no kidding. That's
I
so
was really naive.
Yeah. I mean, not yeah, but like I would be too. Because you don't want to think that that's even something that would even occur to you. What are some of the things that now looking back, that you wish you would have done differently or would be doing differently now?
I would have done so much differently. First of all, I would have immediately gotten myself into therapy, because
Wow.
when you're going through this, you need support.
Okay.
We all know addiction's a family disease. I would have immediately gotten myself into therapy with a therapist who understood addiction. First thing. Second thing, I would have I know I would have sought out help in the community because it was there. I just didn't know. I didn't know how to access it. The third thing I would have done very differently was not blamed him.
That's
I was
interesting.
really angry, like I said, very angry at his behaviors and things that were happening because, you'd be like, don't sneak out, sneaks out. Don't take the car, takes the car. Don't take my money, takes the money. Don't bring this person in my house because they steal from me. Brings the person in the house and they steal from me. And looking back, that's the disease. And I
Wow.
wish I would have understood better that this was the disease that had my son. This was not my son. This was his disease acting out. I think it would have given me a better framework whenever I was dealing with him and finding him the help he needed or the help that I thought he needed or hoped he needed. I did send him to treatment. And when he got home from treatment, I quit my job and I pulled him out of school and I homeschooled him. And this was before homeschool was a thing. We got his textbooks in the mail, that kind of deal. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
I will say that my relationship with him, it took a lot of years to rebuild. But today, my son's 34 and he's married and he's happy. He just bought his first home. He's a paramedic, just got promoted to captain. I don't know how it works, but like he's a trainer, he's stable. He works hard. He loves his wife. He's sober,
Wow.
However the path was, we ended up here. So I'm grateful for that. I just would have done some things differently as far as how I responded to him.
Yes, yes. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit more as far as you saying you wish you wouldn't have blamed him? Because I feel like as a mother with me, if that were to occur in my life, I would blame him. How who 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 do you go to make it not happen? If like who's accountable? Who's accountable, I guess, is the
Exactly
question.
right. Who is accountable? He's a 16-year-old with developmental issues, with all these other things going on, who, to my vision, he was willfully disobedient.
Yeah.
I know now that he was acting out of pain. He was in a lot of pain for a lot of reasons. And maybe I would have had more empathy because, I don't think blame and empathy really can go together. I think that having that desire to blame is just part of human nature.
Yeah.
And having anger is just part of the disease because it's cunning and baffling, as we all know. And so when something like that enters into your home and into your child, all you see is behavior. You see their behavior, you see their choices, you see them just doing dumb crap over and over and over and over and over. And so, yeah, it's really hard not to have that.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
If you for those of us that are watching now live or those of us that are watching on replay, parents who maybe are nervous about their kids possibly getting into drugs at some point in their life. You know, I have a 17-year-old. This is like the age where we start to get like nervous, you know, 15, 16, 17. How are we supposed to even talk to them about drugs without them like, whatever, mom, got it, mom, yes, mom? You know, how do we open up? How do we talk about it?
So for me, I think probably, and like, I work with adolescents, I work with teens, so this is what I do all day long, all the time. And I have a different type of relationship with my kids here, obviously. But I think for parents, it needs to be an ongoing conversation, an ongoing discussion. It needs to be something that's talked about, frequently. It something that you can discuss frequently. Like you don't have to lecture or do scare tactics. You don't have to do that. Your kid's not stupid. They know what you're doing. So honestly, just being able to develop a honest and trusting relationship, that goes both ways. You want to trust your kid, but your kid has to trust you. And so what that means is if your kid comes to you with a question that you're kind of like, what is this? Where is this coming from? Or comes to you and tells you, hey, at the party last weekend, I drank alcohol and I got drunk. How you respond to your child matters greatly. If you react with being angry or flipping out, they're not going to want to talk to you again. So it's going to build an environment of them feeling like they have to be secretive because they can't trust your response. So when you want a trusting relationship with your kiddo, you have to understand sometimes that means you're going to hear things that you don't want to hear. And you have to be prepared for that. Follow up with questions that aren't accusatory or blaming. It's more like, well, can you tell me more about what was happening at the party? Can you tell me more about, what was going on at that time or how you were feeling or, how did you feel afterwards? Let's talk about that. How does it feel to you to be talking to me right now and being honest with me?
Ooh, I love that.
So, we see our kids as our kids, but really they're adults in training.
Yeah.
And so it's perfectly okay to speak to your child or your adolescent as if you would an adult, really. You want to keep dialogue open about all kinds of stuff with your kids. Mental health, substance abuse, these are all things that are so critical with our youth these days. And, modeling that openness by you yourself being, available to your child, listening to your child about other things that are going on in their lives, it's just building that nurturing relationship between the two of you where they trust you, you trust them. And like I said, just an ongoing conversation about it. If they come to you and ask you specific questions, be prepared to sit down, drop what you're doing, sit down, pay attention. Because if your kid's coming to you like that, they've got something on their mind. And it probably took a lot for them to come and talk to you.
Absolutely.
So put your phone down, give them their focus. Yeah.
I love that. What, in your opinion, what is the line between acknowledging, listening, and appreciating their honesty, and then, like, I guess, condoning it or making it seem like it's not that big of a deal? Is there a line that needs to be set?
There needs to be clear boundaries in your home.
Okay.
I mean, your kid can come to you and tell you, I've done XYZ, and you can tell them, thank you so much for being honest with me. Thank you so much for being open. That makes such a difference in how I'm going to respond. You still have to, there's consequences,
Okay.
because there's consequences in life. So if a kid drives drunk, he loses his license or loses car privileges for 3 months or loses social privileges for 7 days until you can talk it through, that kind of thing. There has to be consequences.
Got it. So for those listening, Anna's saying to be a good listener, but then to also have Also have your rules, also have your boundaries set in place for that. And do you think it's important to have the boundaries and the rules set up before something
Yeah.
like this even happens? Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's something
part of
that,
that ongoing conversation. Yeah.
okay. Because that's something that I have done. And I kind of tussled with that a little bit because I didn't want to preemptively have him thinking that like that's something that he should be thinking about at this age. So I kind of like, is it even worth talking about it? Because he might not even be, it might not even be in his realm of vision.
It is, but here's the reality. It is.
Okay.
It's in all of these kids. If your child is in a public school, private school, has friends, it's in there. It's in the realm. It's there.
Okay.
And
so that's just us as parents being naive, basically.
It's hard, like when I would lead, I led family education at the treatment center that I worked at. And one of the things that I've said to the parents is like, first of all, when they put your baby in your arms, you don't think, oh, he's going to be a little addict. I can't wait. And second of all, there is no My Drug Addicted Child for Dummies book out there. And that's because, there's no roadmap to this kind of thing. You have to do the best that you can do with what you've got. And these kids are being bombarded with unbelievable things. Social media is so destructive. The kids I work with here, the number one way that they get substances, drugs, vapes, whatever, Snapchat.
Really?
That is the number one plug for obtaining substances for them.
Okay, so wait a minute. So, here we're talking to moms, we're talking to parents right here. My son has Snapchat. What are they doing on Snapchat? What does this look like?
Snapchat, it's designed for this kind of thing. And it doesn't take 2 minutes for your kid. I promise you, if you got on Snapchat right now, within about 30 seconds to a minute, if you knew the right words to put in there, you would be able to find what you were looking for that fast.
Wow.
It's pretty astonishing, really.
Wow. So like in the search, they can put
in the search, it becomes like, if Jimmy gets his from Johnny, then it becomes very well known that you can contact Johnny or Jimmy and they're going to hook you up and you're going to be with this person. Da, da, da. I have one kid who literally some kid in his neighborhood was driving around the neighborhood in his golf cart and kids were cracking their windows and they were making transactions through the windows and they would arrange all of this on Snapchat because it disappears.
Yeah, it disappears. For those of you that don't know listening, Snapchat disappears in 24 hours.
Or you can delete it right then and there and it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually got on Snapchat because my son was on Snapchat. That's the only reason I got on. And that's the only way he communicates with me. They don't do text.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't even know what that even means. So if I want to text my son, I have to snap him.
Yep.
And that's how we communicate. But
I mean, just like anything, the Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I mean, there's negative on anything, 100%. But it just makes it easier for them.
Definitely. Now, as far as parents who are dealing with children who they're in that that spectrum of where you were with your son, where it's you starting to rebel and then all of a sudden you realize the thing that maybe you were hoping wasn't a thing is a thing. What do you kind of tell parents? How are we supposed to, if we feel intuition that our child is getting into drugs or abusing alcohol, how do we approach them? What do we say to them?
My suggestion is really just finding, first of all, timing. Timing is critical. If they're tired, if they're in a bad mood, if they've already been at you, wait until it's going to be like a more calm environment to talk to them, because chances are they're going to get elevated and heated. They're going to deny it. But my suggestion would just be like, hey, Susie, I've noticed a couple of things lately. You lied to me about where you were last weekend. I've noticed that you don't hang out with Betty and Mary anymore. Instead, you're hanging out with these people. You're sleeping a lot more, I've noticed. School called me. You missed a couple of classes last week that you ditched. I'm concerned that there's something going on. And I'm just wanting to know, is there anything going on that I need to know about?
Okay, I love that.
If you go in like, are you doing drugs? They're defensive. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely. So have a few things on a list that you're worried about.
Mm-hmm.
And then
be able
don't
to tell them.
Okay.
Yeah, specifics.
Got it. And then don't come right out and say, are you doing drugs? Come out and say what's going on.
Yeah. Is there anything that you need to talk to me about? Is there anything going on that's weighing on you?
Awesome.
If they still deny and you subsequently might find some sort of evidence or something laying around your house, then my next suggestion is to start implementing random drug testing in your home.
Okay.
And the way that I suggest that people randomize that is like get 7 popsicle sticks, put a black dot on one of them. They pull a stick. If it's got the black dot, they pee in a cup.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Yes.
That way it's truly randomized, because trust me, if they know that they're going to test, these kids have a million ways of trying to trip a test.
So are you saying to do that nightly? Like just when they come home, they have to pull a stick?
Pull a stick. Mm-hmm.
And if they're not doing anything, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Not an issue.
And then where do you suggest parents get these drug tests? Where do we purchase these at?
CVS, Walgreens, any drugstore really. You can get different panel tests. You can get 7 panel, 20 panel, 25 panel, just whichever one you feel like you want to do.
And for those of us that don't know what paneling is or panels are, what are those?
It's the drugs that they're going to be testing for.
Yeah.
Some drug tests, the most basic is going to test for like THC or opioids, that kind of thing, the more common substances. And then as you add to the testing, then the panel gets larger.
And more expensive.
Always. Always.
Is there a drug test that tests for alcohol?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is. Oh, I didn't even know that. Okay.
So here's the tricky part about alcohol testing is that you test their saliva.
Okay.
And you will only be able to test for alcohol. It'll only come up positive for about 12 to 24 hours, just because of the way it metabolizes.
Okay. So
what I suggest to my parents is when Jimmy comes home on Saturday night, let's do an alcohol test. You have to do it right there in a minute. So if you suspect something like that's going on. And teens, they'll scream and holler about their right to privacy. And do you really have a right to privacy? I don't think you do. I mean, that's just, kids here hate it when I pull that out with the parents, but it's like, nah, you don't have a right to privacy. No.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
Not if you're doing XYZ. If you're doing behaviors that are suspicious and concerning, you forfeited. You earned the right. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As far as relapse, well, before we get into that, I kind of want to ask, I had another question that was at the tip of my tongue regarding that. Dang it. I don't remember. I'll have to think about that. Why do you think the relapse rate is so high? When especially, teens, going in and out of rehab. What's your opinion on that?
So it's multifaceted for one thing. When you're dealing with an adolescent and you're putting them in rehab or therapy or, yes, we test twice a week at the high school. Mm-hmm.
Is it also random? Do you do 7 sticks?
Yes.
Are you serious? So every student picks a stick, and if they have one with a dot on it, then they have to be tested.
Their names are on the sticks. So if we pull their name, then they test.
Wow.
And our testing policy is not about punishment. It's about support. We don't kick a kid out if they relapse. We're going to look and see what's going on, what we're going to support. We don't punish.
Very cool. And then as far as support, not punish, what happens? Do they get extra like attention or?
Yeah, we do relapse autopsy with them and really go into great depth about what happened before, during, after, points that they could have made different choices, that kind of thing. And then we do have a level system here. And so we will move them down a level for about 10 days, just so that they can kind of reset, do a little, maybe some step, we're 12-step based program. So they might do some step work. So we're private to that question.
Awesome. And then that kind of runs into the question that I just asked. So go ahead and continue.
So, I kind of liken when you send a kid to treatment and they come home. It's like, imagine if, like a claw machine came down and picked you up by your head and like dumped you into China and said, find your way home. You don't speak the language. You don't have a roadmap. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know who's safe. You don't know who's not safe. And so your road home is going to be hard, right? It's hard. And that's what we're expecting these teens to do. We're expecting these teens to come back from treatment if they've gone to treatment. They do have skills and they've learned a lot in treatment. But when you dump them like right in the middle of life, it's hard. It's hard. The substances are everywhere. Acceptance is the number one part of adolescence. They're looking for acceptance. They're looking to have their peer group, parents, their opinions, thoughts, and wants are second to peers. Peers are everything to these kids. And so if they don't have a program such as ours to go to, where they have a built-in group of friends and peers who are in recovery and who support their recovery, the chances of them staying sober are very, very minimal. Research shows that, especially with adolescents, first of all, anything less than 90 days is not very effective at all. So 30-day rehabs, 45-day rehabs, it's better than nothing, but they need a minimum of 90 days. And then when they leave
No kidding. No kidding.
There's a lot to do with it.
How much does insurance cover? Does insurance cover ever 90?
No.
No shit. Wow, that made my heart hurt.
Yeah.
Oof.
There's a lot of barriers.
Heavy.
There's a lot of barriers to getting your child help, and financial is one of them. When I sent my son to treatment, that was in 1990. I don't know. I can't remember. 93, 94. And we paid $16,000 for 4 months, and that was cheap. That was very inexpensive, and our insurance didn't pay a dime of it. Insurance is really tricky with substance abuse treatment, and that's a huge barrier. So a lot of kids are they're flying blind, very little support, very little help. Most states have a YPAW, which is Young People in AA group. Here it's OKPAW, Oklahoma Young People in AA. And so if they can get plugged into like an OKI or a YPAW, that's helpful. IOPs are helpful, intensive outpatient programs, if you can find one. Those are helpful. Solid therapist is helpful. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that these are children using substances that are extremely dangerous, that impact their brain function, that impact their, they started using when they were 13. That's when their emotional development stopped. So maybe chronologically your kid's 18, but mentally and emotionally, you're looking at a 13-year-old. So we're asking a lot of our teens, a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And that's why I think the relapse rate is so high. There's other factors. It's like, I rarely do I have a kid that's like, oh yay, I'm going to treatment. They don't want to go.
Yeah.
They're scared to death. They don't have any idea what that life is that they're facing. And people in recovery understand that you're not ready till you're ready. And a lot of these teens, they're not ready. They still have a bottom left. Yeah. So we feel like a big part of it is just letting them, we give them the map, they know where to go. They know what to do for help. They know where it's located. And that's really, awesome. That's the best that we can do.
That's awesome. As far as when these young adults leave and they graduate,
mm-hmm.
what do you suggest for them? Do you suggest like an AA, like a weekly, daily AA, or what do you kind of?
Yeah.
What's the next step?
We really encourage them to find their own recovery community outside of us. As they process through our program, ratio of boys to girls, it so varies. For like a whole year, we had 8 boys and 1 girl. It was like The Bachelor, or Bachelorette. It was bad. Right now, we have 6 boys and 2 girls. So it just varies. It's just kind of whatever we get. It's what we got. And I forgot what I was saying. I lost track.
I don't remember either. If you could think about one thing that you could change in the world of addiction, what would it be?
I think the main thing I would change is the way people view addiction, and especially addiction in adolescence, because a lot of people view adolescent addiction as a phase or stage or not a big deal. It's a huge deal. Our children are dying. I would sum it up. I would want people to see and to understand that this is a disease. It's not a choice. It needs to be treated as a disease. It needs to be approached with the disease model. Insurance companies need to treat it just like what it is, which is a disease, a deadly disease. It's not a moral issue. It's not a willpower issue. It is a disease. And it needs to be treated that way, viewed that way, and approached that way, especially by the medical community.
Absolutely. As far as these kids in your care, is this a regular school day? Like they're with you from 9 to 5 or something? Or how does that work for them? Okay.
So their school day, they get here about 8:30. I do group with them from about 8:30 to 8:45. We just do a check-in group, take their spiritual temp, see what's going on, send them on to school. Within the school day, they do all kinds of cool stuff. We're very heavy on art. So we have partnership with some of the art places here. They do a lot of art, a lot of music, a lot of enrichment, but it's structured just like a school day. But then on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Oh, thank you. Yes. Okay. I'm going to remember that. Life after they leave. Then those 4 days are the recovery aspect. And that usually goes Mondays and Fridays. It goes until like 6:30. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's till 5. So it's a pretty long day. So life after they leave us, the ideal is that they have a solid recovery community underneath them. Our door's always open. In fact, I looked up a minute ago, and a kiddo who graduated last year was here, like waving at me. So, if they're sober, they can come back anytime. If they're not sober, as long as they're not high, they can still come back and see us.
Yes.
So after they leave here, we always tell them we're like the Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave. We're always here. We're always here for support. And they all have different paths. Of our graduating class this last time, one relapsed and is still not doing well. one is two of them are in college and doing very well. So it just kind of depends. You know, we have students that have died when they've left us. We have students who have, gone to college, become teachers, funeral directors, therapists, moms, dads. 2 that I know of right now are in the military, doing really, really well, progressing well. So it just kind of depends on the kiddo. But one thing that they know when they walk out that door is that we're here for them no matter what, no matter when.
That's great.
So, yeah.
That's great. So as far as you and your story, how do you decide to show up for your world? I know that you've got your own stuff, your own journey with all of this stuff. How do you show up for your world? How do you show up for your son?
With compassion and gratitude. I have a lot of compassion in the world for people who are dealing with this in their home and in their lives. And I have nothing but gratitude for my son for what recovery gave him. And in turn, gave our family, because it gave us our family back. And that's why I do what I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it must feel so good when you have parents come back and are so happy.
It's good stuff. I don't think I mentioned one component of our program is we do have a very strong parent support program.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, our Monday evenings it's a parent group. So we meet as a family group, and then they divide out. The kids do a 12-step group, and the parents do a parent recovery group. We have a parent recovery coach who is a mom that their kiddo came through our program. In fact, he used to work for us. So he came through the program. His mom worked for us. He worked for us. So good stuff. And that parent recovery coach is available to our parents at any time. They can call her, they can text her, and she's available. And we also have a mom's Al-Anon meeting on Thursday nights that she leads. So, we do a lot with the parents because that's really the key.
Absolutely. As far as, catching your child at a younger age with all of this and not walking around with like rose-colored glasses, because just using my own experience, and I have no problem saying this, but like, in my eyes, my son is amazing, and he would never do something like that. So I think using my own experience, I would definitely have some issues with thinking that there was ever a problem, even if it was staring me dead in the face. And, as far as when you're confronting your children, as far as having those open conversations with them, do you feel as if catching them at this younger age is like key to long-term sobriety?
It is,
does it really not matter?
So no, it's critical.
Okay.
So first of all, some of the most amazing, brilliant, beautiful humans I know, precious people, are addicts.
Wow.
Addicts are beautiful people that are struggling.
Yeah.
Gosh darn, my brain, it fell off the hamster wheel again. What did you ask me?
We were talking about how young, if it's better to catch them when they're young.
Yeah. I'm actually, when I get done here, I've got another presentation that I'm going to a group of high school parents. And one of the statistics in that was something like 75% of adults over the age of 24 in treatment report that their using started at right around the age of 14 or 15.
Wow.
Yeah. It's critical.
A big percentage.
Yeah. I think it was something like 15% of girls age 20 that started using marijuana in particular at age 13, 14, 15 reported a higher level of clinical depression than girls that did not. So, I mean, you're talking about their brain, a developing brain, and there's long-term impact. So I am very, very strong advocate for early intervention. The earlier, the better.
Absolutely. Now, if we have parents watching right now live or right now on the replay, and they're looking for some sort of support, like to ask questions, to like, you know, dig a little deeper, where should they go? Where should they be looking other than like a Google search?
So every state has their Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. So that website is usually a pretty good resource. They'll have a lot of a listing of programs and a listing of options and things that your kiddo can access. And I don't know about nationally, but in our state, we have a group called Parents Helping Parents, and it meets. I actually did a live with them last night, and it meets multiple times throughout the week. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just Parents Helping Parents. It's like a support group of parents who are dealing with this in their home. You know, adolescents and adult children. So it's all ages. NAMI is a good option. The National Association of Mental Health, and school resources, the school counselors, they may have like an idea of where to go and what to do and different types of programs. And sometimes, you know, Google is your best friend.
Yeah,
so
100%. And then what's the capacity? What's the capacity at your school?
So for the actual high school, 15 is our max. And then for the alternative peer group, so if the kids are in the high school, then they have to go to APG. It's required. You have to do both. No other way around it. And then, but on the flip side, students can go to their regular high school. Some of them are even homeschooled, and they can attend our APG. So APG, we can have 20 kids, you know, whatever we've got space for, we can do.
Okay. So if somebody listening, you know, was interested in sending their child to this school, so this is like an actual school. So they would have to live in your state to go to your school.
Yeah. To be able to come to our school, they have to be able to transport their kiddo here and back.
Okay.
So, you know, within about we've had parents who've, no joke, driven an hour and a half, both like drove their kid here, go home, come back out, go back home. So they're on the road 6 hours a day.
Got it. And then how many schools are there? I know there's not a lot that do what you're doing.
There's none in Oklahoma, and nationally, I think nationally there's something like 40, 44, 45. You know, we kind of are modeled off of a school in Houston that started, it's called Arch. And they do things a little bit differently than we do. They're affiliated with the public schools, and we're not. We're pure private. But they're kind of like the OG of these types of schools. I know there's several opening on the East Coast. So it's something that's needed. Yeah. Badly needed for these kids to have a safe place to be. But yeah, there's not many. One of the other things that I do is like drug and alcohol assessments for the community at large as well.
Okay. Very cool. What are you grateful for most right now in your life?
Oh man. I think right now I'm really grateful for the peace that I have. You and I met, you know how we met. Yes. So, in a very strange way.
Yes.
But the peace I have in my life right now has been very hard fought for. And it's precious, and I protect it at all costs. So I have a lot of gratitude for the peace that I have in my life.
That's great. I so appreciate you coming on here. I know that you've got a gazillion things going on all at once. It sounds like you have something going on this afternoon even. So I appreciate you taking some of your time out of your day to sit down with us and hang out with us. If anyone wanted to reach out to you, where can they find you?
They can go on our website. It is teenrecoverysolutions.org. And my phone number is on there and my email. So feel free. Wherever you are in the United States or the world, feel free to reach out. And I'll answer questions and give all the support I can.
Yes, yes. And I wanted to ask you one last question. We still have quite a few people here watching live. What is some advice? I'm assuming that anyone here listening is either dealing with this or has dealt with this or is, friend of a friend. So what is some advice you would give to parents right now watching who are just now realizing that their child is entering the world of addiction? What should they be doing?
The earlier the intervention, the better. Don't be in denial. Don't be in denial. Don't wait until it gets worse. Don't fool yourself. You're entering into a war. And just like with any war, you want to strike early and strike hard. Kid might get mad at you. Guess what? It's okay. It's perfectly okay for your child to get mad. They'll get over it. And
thank you for saying that, because sometimes we get nervous.
When I see kids like that in a home, I'm like, you're a freaking terrorist. You're holding your parents hostage, and it's not okay. Be okay with your kid being mad at you.
Yeah, it's
gonna
so
happen.
uncomfortable.
You know what's even more uncomfortable? Going to your kid's funeral when they overdose.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Thank you, because that is so true.
You can love your child to death. Remember that. Literally love your child to death.
Absolutely.
They must have consequences for their choices. They must.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Sometimes we need a reminder because we feel like we're the only bad guy. So thank you.
When it's done out of love and protection, there's nothing bad about it,
Yes, 100%. Well, this has been fantastic. I appreciate everything that you said, everything that you are, everything that you stand for. Do you have any closing thoughts before I close up here?
Just thank you for letting me come on and talk about this. It's a subject that's not really discussed much because people don't really like to face it. So thank you for letting me be a voice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I certainly hope to have you on again in the future.
You bet.
Her version is constantly looking for new topics and new things that aren't necessarily talked about often. We love touching on the taboo topics and the difficult to talk about topics. And we appreciate ladies like you who are coming on and breaking through and opening up for those of us that are a little bit more nervous and reserved on that end. So thank you for everything that you're doing over there. Thank you for all of the lives that you're changing and for getting the help that your son needed. That's great. So thank you so much for joining us here on Her Version. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, be sure to reach out to me here or at herversion.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Do something awesome today. Much love.